2, Aston Villa 2, and they've only got themselves to blame today. Arsenal, the better side for the vast majority of the game, leading 2-0. Goals from Martinelli and Kai Havertz, and then a 12-minute moment of madness. They lose their intensity, poor marking from set pieces and crosses, wonderful crosses. Equalizer comes in, and then they just couldn't go and get the third goal and the winner. So a 6-point gap at the top of the league table for Liverpool Football Club. Those two Darwin Núñez goals now will probably feel even sweeter, even better, even more important as ever. I want to get your views, your opinions, your thoughts on Arsenal today, Villa today, because it was a very, very bad evening indeed. If you were a Gooner, if you are a Gooner, I should say. Let's go to some of your comments that are coming through right now. Sean here says, Núñez. Yeah, they're gonna feel that 110%. Only response for that is laughter, is what MK Dave has got to say here. Thank you, Josh, for renewing your membership. I appreciate that. Robbed, Arsenal robbed. No, they weren't robbed tonight. Only when they get robbed will I say they were robbed. Kate here with loads of laughing emojis. Joe's really mad about it as well, though. I actually get it, but I feel a bit of pain. Man United's title record's going to be equal by Liverpool, isn't it? It's shit. But listen, the biggest culprit is my football club. I hear ya. Terry, as I say here, sorry. Terry, we just weren't good enough today. No, I hear you on that. How is that not a goal for Merino? Look, in real time, you couldn't tell. The slow-mo certainly it looks as though it hits the hand. Kai Havertz is claiming it's his stomach. I want to get another look at it, but it very much looked to me like it struck his hand. So I understand your point in your question here, but it looked like it hit the arm, the arm stroke, not handball, but it looked like it hit the arm, in my personal opinion, Breton. So I don't think that's something that you can sort of defend. It looks a handball to me, unless you can show me a camera angle, unless you can show me some footage that I haven't seen that shows it comes off the stomach. You have to remember that if it is to hit any part of the hand or arm in the build up to a goal, accidentally or not, it's still considered handball. So even if it hits the stomach and then brushes the arm, it's still a handball. So that's why it's not a goal, my friend. You have to be very, very clear about that. Free John says 2-0 up, and look, that's going to be the most painful part for Arsenal fans. Not Arsenal fans who want their team to lose, not Arsenal fans who are sort of happy that this has happened, and they do exist. There are some strange people out there, but absolutely, they'll be gutted tonight. But you can't be 2-0 up and throw that away if you want to win a Premier League title. I was looking at a stat today that this season, 4 times Arsenal have drawn when leading at half-time at the Emirates. This is now number 5. Sky put that stat out. That's 10 points dropped at home from winning positions. It's not good enough. It isn't good enough. And a comment came through a moment ago that I think is so important from Harrison Lang, who says, Terry, Arsenal's problems are clearly mental instead of technical. And look, there's definitely, they need a better finisher up front, okay? That's a technical issue. I think they need more creativity in the middle. That's a technical issue. But today's issue was mental. They were the better team. They scored 2 very good goals, some really good movements, some wonderful wing play from Trossard. I thought both finishes were really good. Like almost the first one saved, well saved, but it went in. Kai Havertz finish. I mean, the fact that he could score that and not sitters is crazy. But for me, I felt that they went 2-0 up. They become a bit lackadaisical. The first goal they conceded today, Arsenal, Merino, who I thought overall had a pretty good game. You can't let your man get goal side of you like that. You can't allow that to happen. Gets goal side of him. As soon as the attacking player, you can see his number, you're in a precarious position, bang. And then letting Ollie Watkins drift and be alone by himself at the far post. Just very, very poor indeed. But that 12 minutes was a massive, massive wobble indeed. It really, really was. Sully here says, it's been 20 years. Arsenal ain't winning jack. Well, the Premier League, they've obviously won trophies in that time. It's important to be accurate. Hold that Arteta out again. Beautiful is what Sean says here. Omar, who's a Liverpool fan, says, was shitting myself, Terry. Huge for us, but stressful. Yeah, I bet. Look, I mean, there's multiple ways to look at this. For Liverpool fans, this is great. For Tottenham and Chelsea fans, this is amazing. For Man United fans, I think there's a bit of sweetness to this. You don't want to see Arsenal win the league as a general rule, but Liverpool are probably going to go on to win it. As a neutral, like my brother, who's an Orient fan, texted me when it went 2-2 and went, well, that's it. The season's over for everyone because the title race is pretty much done in his eyes. So I suppose there's lots of different views for different people during and after this game, depending on why you watch the Premier League for, of course. Yes, everyone, please get that like button here if you haven't done so already. Please get that smash for us. Bring back to being Bottle Job FC again. And look, this is something that Arsenal was starting to leave behind them. Yes, in their first title race campaign, they had a wobble near the end. Last season, they also dropped some points, but they got massively high points, record number points for them as a club, as an example, record-breaking goals. This season, there has been more vulnerability to this team. There's no doubt about it. We've called it out regularly on the Football Terrace. Our panelists have called it out, and it hasn't been good enough, regularly enough, from Arsenal. It's as simple and as straightforward as that. It really, really is. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Arsenal got robbed, in my opinion. Why is Maradona allowed to score an iconic goal, but Havertz can't the same? And it does the same, and it's chopped off. Yeah, look, man, I didn't get quite have a celebration, if I'm being honest. But everyone knows VAR exists. People score with their hands, and I felt for Merino a little bit because maybe he didn't see the deflection too well. But it looks, again, unless someone can send me video footage where it doesn't touch his arm at all, it looks an absolute clear handball to me. We threw away the game, all of the hard work undone by getting beat by 2 crosses. Handball rule is rubbish. If we get no one, the season is over. If you sign nobody, sorry, yes, I thought you were talking about the handball. What's really interesting about the handball rule is you obviously saw the one that Newcastle were given against Tottenham the other week. No different, completely accidental, but you're allowed to carry on from that point. Why? I'm not defending it because of today. We said it on that show as well. Why are some handballs okay and not others? I would love to understand the rationale and thinking, but I just feel like handball should just be handball. Or if it's accidental, it's allowed. But yeah, look, I hear you. I do hear where you're coming from there, Abraham. Talk about Arsenal fans leaving at 2-2 with 7 minutes to go. That's crazy. I was thinking this. I was going to tweet it, but sometimes I write tweets and then I just think I can't be bothered with the backlash and the reaction because Twitter isn't my job, right? I don't make money out of Twitter. The only reason I have Twitter Blue is because you can post longer things and post longer videos, and it's good to be able to do that for the channel. But I did think it went a bit flat after those 2 goals, and after those near misses and some chances, the noise got up, and I'm thinking these Arsenal fans they've got to inject the atmosphere back into the team. I really did think they had to do that. Leaving's crazy. They need to sign at least 4 attack-minded players, is what Hamid says here. To be honest, Martinez should have saved both goals. Yeah, maybe. I mean, they're both hit with a lot of power and he had to react quickly. That's why they're hard to save those. I think the fact that he got to the first one is because his positioning as a goalkeeper and his reactions are very good. He couldn't generate enough power in the save. But yeah. The ball hit the arm first, then off the chest. It's big enough to disallow it. Arsenal fans need to look at why they were. Yeah, listen, absolutely. And Arsenal fans have to look at why they threw away a 2-goal lead. That is the story here, not the handball. If this was pre-VAR and it hit his chest and they gave it as handball, I would understand it more. But I think we can all see his arm. Objectively speaking, it hit his arm. We know it's a bit of a silly rule because it's accidental, and accidental handballs for penalties don't count. Accidental handballs and the build up to a goal don't count. So why should they for goals that go in? I understand the logic and the argument, but the biggest conversation today is Arsenal throwing away a 2-goal lead. Why did it happen? What happened in that 12 minutes? Yes, the crosses were great. The runs were great. The finishes were great from Aston Villa. But how can they can't do that? That's where the inquest should be, in my personal opinion. Villa always spoil it for the Gunners. Yeah, that's two of the last 3 seasons that they've done that they've done it. And by the way, that game 2 years ago, if I remember it correctly, and there's Gooners backstage, so they'll nod for me if I'm right. I think Arsenal battered them in the first half and probably should have been 2 or 3 goals up, and then went on to lose. So yeah, absolutely, they've hurt it for him a number of times. They've been hurt by him loads. That wasn't handball. The ball hit his stomach, upper arm, not his arm. The first angle shows it. Yeah, do you know what, Brian? As I've said, I go live straight after the game. I saw 2 replays on Sky, and they weren't particularly close up. They were quite quick. I've seen still shots. If somebody can send me through a link and DM me on Twitter, and I'll look at it. If I can see that it doesn't touch his lower arm and it hits his stomach and then maybe the upper arm, then I'll say Arsenal got robbed. All right, I'll make you a promise, because the upper arm's not handball. But if it touches that lower part of his arm, it's a shit rule, but they follow the rules. And you can't have a go at the referees for following the rules. That's what we asked them to do, right? Love the content. Been following for a while. American Arsenal fan here. I have some culture and team questions I'd like to ask if I can get on. Nev, drop me a DM on Twitter and we'll send you a link through, my friend. Yeah, more than happy to get new faces onto the show. Terry, are Arsenal still scary, and do people have Arsenal fear? Arsenal was certainly not scary at the moment in comparison to how they looked a couple of years ago. Absolutely not. Was there Arsenal fear? Absolutely. And do you know why you can tell? But if you weren't fearful or worried at all, there'd be no reaction to Arsenal falling off slightly this year. And when I say slightly, they're still second in the league, right? So it's not a fall off like they're 8th. If there was no fear that they were close to winning league titles, close to picking up the biggest honours around, there wouldn't be this vitriol and this happiness from rivals if it didn't exist. So right now, I don't think that fear of Arsenal winning the league exists. I don't think people are looking at Arsenal and going, that team are deadly and scary and I don't want to go up against them. I think there's almost there's a more of a vulnerability about Arsenal this year. Absolutely. And we've spoke about that regularly, especially from about October onwards. It's been around a lot more than maybe the beginning of the season, but absolutely, you've got to call these things out. 2-0, Arteta will bring out another DM normally. I don't know if you. I'm looking at. Well, let's look back at the moments in the game. So it went 2-0 up. I mean, did nothing. See, I actually thought it would be wrong to go defensive at that point. It sends the wrong message to Aston Villa. I just felt you were cruising a little bit. It almost like you went into autopilot, cruise control, and got caught out by a brilliant cross from Lucadinha. And Merino was just sleeping, and Uri Tillemans got ahead of him. Then they had the bit between their teeth, and after they went 2-2, then I thought Arsenal kind of refound themselves. They gathered a bit more composure. But up until that point, it was just a lapse in concentration, conceded, and then a wobble, and it's 2-2. But from leading 2-0, inexcusable. Arsenal need a madness. No trophies. Arteta out. Look, I can't call for Arteta out. I'm not an Arsenal fan. I've said all along. Said it last season. Said it again this season. I've repeated it 100 times. Last campaign and this campaign, solely he should be judged on winning trophies. I feel that let me rephrase that. I think the majority of Arsenal fans out there understand he helps them to rebuild the club. That's been done. The club's been rebuilt. They're in title races. They're one of the best teams around. They have been the last 2.5 years. Still second in the league, right? One of the best teams. You can't be second in the league and not one of the best teams. Definitionally impossible. But the last 2 seasons, he's solely judged on what he wins. The other bit's been done. It's been ring-fenced. Great, well done. You can't keep getting credit in the bank. I know some gooners want to win the debate. I know some Arsenal fans want to say, I told you he'd win something big. If he doesn't win anything this year, you have to start talking about it. Now, it looks as though he's going to stay, no matter what anybody says, because Zubimendi is coming, supposedly, and he's a big part of that. But the conversations must take place, there's no doubt. Arsenal, sorry, we've done that one there. Sorry. No bench, 13 active only. 13, you mean 13 active days, right? Yeah. Yeah, Arsenal's bench. Look, I won't do this and offend or insult any Arsenal fans. Injuries obviously were a problem today in the sense that there was very little on the bench. However, it's the 18th of January. Some business could have been done by now. So at the same time as those injury problems exist and more have happened, money could have been put down. There are certain players with buyout clauses. There are individuals available to give you some more options, as opposed to, I saw some kids' names on the bench tonight. I don't know who they are. I'm not an Arsenal fan. No disrespect. I don't know who they are. The fact that the only real attacking option Arsenal had today with Raheem Sterling is problematic. But there's been 18 days to do something about it. Spend some money. Take a little bit of a gamble. The bench was so poor today. Sent on Twitter a screenshot of it. She sent me a screenshot. It's great. I need to see the footage because I've seen some screenshots that look like it hits his belly. Some look like it's hit his hand. You sent it to me on Twitter, though. Would you DM it to me? Or did you tag me? I can't see it. Maybe it's in my... No, I don't know where it is. Let me know. Let me know, Brian. 2-0 up on a 2v2 counter. Gabby stops the counter. Partey gives the ball to Villa, and then they score. Second goal came from giving away a stupid free kick. Yeah, I understand that. I feel like there was still... With the first goal, I get your point about stopping a counter and Partey giving the ball away. But if Merino does his job marking better and just stays goal side, it's not a goal. Sometimes when those things happen, it's easy to pinpoint one person and go, it's his fault. But there's multiple things there. But I felt like you were sleeping. I felt like you were sleeping at that point. You've tagged me. Okay, I'll have a little look for it, my friend. I will have a look for it. I don't like the way Twitter works now. It doesn't show me everyone who's tagged me. But there we go. I'll try and find it, my friend. I'll try and find it while I bring the panel out on the show. The word I'd use for Arsenal is comfortable. Everyone at the club seems to be too comfortable, not the same sort of urgency as in previous seasons. I mean, there was in the last 10 minutes. There was in the opening 10 minutes. It's there. I understand where you're coming from. I'm going to ask the Gooners if they feel that. If they feel their team has become a bit too comfortable, a bit too complacent. I'd love to get their opinions on that. Time for the panel now to come out and have their say on the show. I didn't timestamp when I did the super chats. Let me just go back and do that now before I forget the time that I started doing them, because I'd like you guys to be able to see them, as you guys are very important supporting the Football Terrace. Who we got on the show tonight? We have got, I'll bring them out as I'm saying their names. We've got Judge Mo, we've got Giuseppe, we've got Bran, we've got Ash, Sard, Nathan, and Matt. Welcome back to the show, gentlemen. I'm going to go to, and let me just check one thing before I say that. Let me just go to Giuseppe, first of all. A long time no see. Hope your daughter's doing better as well. I know she wasn't particularly well. 2-0 up. You drew 2-2. Talk to me.
Yeah, man. Cheers for that. And happy to be back. First of all. Second of all, Arsenal. Yeah, man. It's just that. I don't want to keep going the league in, the league out, but like when Liverpool have gone and won in the last minute and then we go and do that, you can't really imagine anything happening in the league. The game, comfortable weren't the word I would use for this. The players now, I just think they're fatigued mentally, physically. The manager maybe as well. I don't know what's going on with these. I'll be honest, I don't know what's going on with these guys. But that game there, 2-0 up, we're all thinking we've won the game. That's it, we've won it. You can't let this slip. After last season, after they're the team as well. Come on, bruv. Have a bit of balls about you. Have a bit of something about you. This team done you last season and was the reason you did not win the league last season. And then you go 2-0 up and you concede 2 goals in like 12 minutes. Yeah. And they're 2 exactly the same goals, pretty much from either side. I think it showed maybe that we didn't have Saliba at the back. Shouldn't really be an excuse. As we said, we've had enough transfer windows for that not to be a big issue. But I feel like that may have been the issue today at the back. But I don't know, man. It really bugs me, bruv, because like people are saying, when you're only bringing Raheem Sterling, that has been piss awful and come on and actually affected us negatively, when he come on, it's a problem. But we've had how many days to address this? And if I see Arsenal sign someone that has a release clause, I'm going to be even more pissed off, because I'm going to be like, you could have done this at the beginning of January and we may be closer to Liverpool right now. So it's hard, man. The thing is, I'm here and I've been done for the last few weeks.
Bro. Don't worry. We're getting Rashford, mate.
I wouldn't be surprised, mate. But like the game itself, I thought we actually didn't have a bad game. We had a bad 12 minutes. I thought apart from that, we were pretty all right. Towards the end, it was getting a bit desperate. You could tell they wanted the win, but it's too late at that point. Very rarely do you let a 2-goal lead slip and then go and win it again. I don't know. I don't really feel like that normally happens too much. Definitely against a team like Aston Villa. So it is all the Arteta out stuff I'm done with. He ain't going, so I'm just done with it. I feel like we need to just put a pin in it, because at the end of the day, we're not going to sack him mid-season. It's just a whole another discussion that don't really need to be have more negativity on the club. But yeah, we need to sort it out. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't give a crap about the handball, if it was or wasn't handball. I don't really give a crap. We shouldn't really rely on that. So yeah, listen, we can go again. We got to keep pushing, because you never know. But we just got to fight for a pride at this point. Just keep winning games so you can be in a shout and a bit of pride, because right now this team ain't showing us no pride at all. Like today, really, it pissed me off, because as I said last season, the reason we didn't win the league was that Villa game. When we were battering them, as you said, Tel, we were battering them in the first half. Should have been like 2-3 ahead. We didn't win the game. We end up not winning the league because of that game. And then this happens. You're 2-0 up and you just can't see the game out. And it just shows a lack of maturity and a lack of, I don't know. I don't blame Arteta today. I blame the players. Just lack of quality, lack of depth.
I hear you, mate. And I get your point about Arteta and Arteta out. I understand people have the opinions on that, but when you know he isn't going to be sacked, there is an argument to say it's just a waste of energy to sit there and consistently talk about it after every bad result. But listen, anyone who calls in, anyone on the panel wants to say it, feel free to. We don't control you in that way here, but I get your point, if that makes sense. It's like us debating which one of us is going to get the Beyonce single. Which one of us is asking her out? Well, she's saying no to all of us. So there's no point us even divvying up who asked her first. We're all getting told no anyway. Let's move on. Brandon,
Before Brandon comes on, I actually come here and everyone is I'm the neutral here. Everyone is here as an Arsenal fan. Everyone is expecting rivals. I'm not a rival to say that we shit on Arsenal and everything. I thought Arsenal were very good today. Very, very good today. Arsenal played amazing football today. At 1-0 up, to be honest with you, at 1-0 up, I expected Arsenal to defend deep. They didn't. They pressed Aston Villa. They looked for the second. And even after the second goal, they looked for the third. I thought Arsenal played amazing today. The problem at Arsenal today is that, as Giuseppe said, is a little bit of concentration and focus and mental stability at the back. But Arsenal literally, I've been criticizing Arsenal all season, right? But I thought Arsenal today did the job in terms of going forward. You scored 2 goals against a resilient team like Aston Villa at home. You went 2-0 up. And I think that at that point, Arsenal should see out the game, as Giuseppe said. Literally, that is the job done. 2-0 up against a resilient Aston Villa, pressing them and playing magnificent football. They move the ball really well. Trossard had an amazing game, to be honest, on that left side. He terrorized Aston Villa. But again, the problem is concentration, is the mentality, which is now I'm starting. Now comes the criticism of Arsenal a little bit. Is that, do they have the mentality to see a game like this where Aston Villa never died? Aston Villa at 2-0, they kind of believed in themselves. I saw Emery making subs, believing that the game is still on. And that is a question of a mentality. The reality is, right, I'm being serious. It's a question of a mentality. It's not a question of quality. It's a question of a mentality. The foul, the free kicks. And I don't know if anyone disagrees with me. I know that Brandon would disagree, but Arsenal played very well today. Going forward, you scored 2 goals. You were clinical. Even Kai Havertz scored a goal today. Great movement in the 18. And he was great. Trossard played well on that. Martinelli played all right. Ian Maatsen really had a howler today, and he was subbed at halftime because Martinelli literally took him to school. So in terms of going forward, Arsenal looked good, very good. They did everything against what they said in the beginning of the season. If people disagree with me, they disagree.
For once, it wasn't the attack that was the problem.
Thank you so much, at least, yes.
It's crazy saying that because it has been that for the past, 5-10 games now. It was merely sort of, we didn't have a proper right back. Like, had we had a right back, he would have been on Watkins for that second goal, and we wouldn't be talking about this. But no, we have to play Partey at right back because this is what Mikel Arteta does. It is pissing me off now that we are playing a midfielder at right back that clearly isn't working. Yes, we are playing Lewis Skelly at left back, but that's clearly working. Partey at right back, we've won 1 in our last 7 games with Partey at right back. Doesn't work. Play Kivior, if anything.
I hear that. I just want to say, Mo,
God, no.
Mo, on your mentality point, again, I'm only speaking as I am a rival of Arsenal, but I'm not emotionally invested in the game. When they went 2-0 up, my thought was fair play Arsenal, a good response to that deflating news that Liverpool won it late. 12 minutes later, I'm looking at it and I'm honestly thinking to myself, the fuck's happened there? It was ridiculous. It reminded me of watching Man United, where we can be looking really good and a few minutes later we can be losing a football match.
You said it many times, Terry. When Man United concede 1, they capitulate. That's Arsenal today. What happened?
Yeah.
Why when you conceded 1 goal, you capitulated like this? Why did you look like the second fiddle team on the pitch at 2-1? That doesn't make any sense. That's not Arsenal, to be honest. Arsenal normally find it hard to play against different teams. They're like, this Aston Villa team, yes, they went 2-1. Arsenal should have seen the game out. I don't know. I really look exactly like you. I'm like, what the fuck happened there? Well, why is it 2-2? I don't know. Maybe the Arsenal fans can explain.
It's complacency. I don't know, bro. Those 2 goals that they conceded was very, very complacent defending. You look at Matty Cash's cross. It wasn't a great cross. It was a decent cross, but not a great cross. The fact that Ollie Watkins had so much time and so much space to get a shot on. The fact that the first goal was allowing someone like Tielemans, who's not known to be a poacher, not known to be a good fox in the box. He's known mainly outside of the box to get a goal.
Speak on that point.
The fact that those 2 players, both Cash and Digne, were allowed to get a ball into the box in the first place, it's just complacency. I think those 2 complacent moments practically cost them the match.
Mentality. It's just about the focus and
mentality, Mo.
Yeah. It's like I don't know. Like I'm not gonna talk about Arteta and Arteta out, and I'm not gonna. We have to stop that. Yeah, he's staying. Forget Arteta out, Arteta in. It's just
that first goal.
Sometimes, yeah. I'm like,
that first goal was so criminal. By the way, I don't know what Merino is trying to do. Trying to go in with his foot. Just dive with the header. Just dive. Like what Tielemans is doing.
But if he dove with his head, he wouldn't get to the ball anyways. The only way to get to the ball was to put his leg.
Like, if he makes contact with a player, it's a penalty. So he was literally in a lose-lose situation in that moment. I don't know what he was thinking of doing.
I mean, I think today was an example of the experienced pros letting down the squad. I mean, you had Partey and Merino who have come in to add, who come with a wealth of experience, supposed to be players that in any type of game supposed to calm it down, handle these kind of experiences with some level of maturity, and both of them went to sleep. I mean, Partey's bird watching for the second goal, and Merino doesn't get goal side, and that's criminal, and that's criminal. There's a lot of people that want to talk about the manager, and there are many instances where the manager does deserve, criticism, but today was not one of those games. You're 2-0 up and you're coasting, and then you have 2 experienced players, the elder statements of that squad, and you're looking at that squad and you factor in the fact there's no Ben White today, there's no Tomiyasu, there's no Calafiori. The manager obviously doesn't depend on Kivior. And I know there's a lot of talk about managers' players and who the manager wants, but I think it's evident that Kivior is not a player the manager wants anything to do with, and there's issues in recruitment because he never leans on him. Otherwise, had he would have slotted straight into centre back and Timber would have played in his rightful position. But it just shows that there's some sort of issue in terms of the recruitment.
But I think he could have done a lot. He could have done better. Like when he saw us concede the first goal, because fair enough, we were playing well. We were 2-0 up. We conceded an own goal. Fair enough, it happens. He should have made a change then. Like, I think he was too reactive. At 2-1, like, I don't rate Jorginho. Honestly, I don't. But if you bring him in, you see Merino was not having the best game, and you want to control the game a lot better. And that's one thing that I'll give Jorginho. At least he's good at that. He's good at dictating pace, controlling the game. And this is why I'm saying some managers like would react a lot faster. I think he only kind of reacted, well, because he had to, after we conceded the second goal. And we're just low on confidence right now. We saw this happen a couple of seasons ago when we were 2-0 up against West Ham.
I don't think he needed to make the changes. I don't think he did, because apart from that second goal, they did nothing. It was just these players on the pitch dilly-dallying, sleeping. That's all.
But Giuseppe, that's a sign though. When you concede the first goal and Aston Villa are on the up, it's obvious that there's a chance they could come back, right? So as a manager, you need to make a change at that time. Right, he should have like.
As well.
You're not playing against a bum team.
I don't think
if you brought in somebody like position, right? Look, you gotta know your position. We're playing against Villa, who are very transition heavy. Yeah, Morgan Rogers in that midfield is a unit. If they put him on Jorginho, we're all going to be sitting here criticizing why are you bringing Jorginho into a game where he can get exposed.
I agree.
But Nathan, I'm not saying bring Jorginho and play defensive. I'm saying bring Jorginho to control the game and keep possession. Of course, don't bring Jorginho and play defensive. That's stupid. Then
Arsenal did that. But Arsenal still kept possession without Jorginho, Ash. The whole game.
Right. It's two errors.
We still had moments where they threatened us more.
Not much. Bro, Morgan Rogers was pocketed by Lewis Kelly, bro. Pocketed.
Exactly.
Bro, he was pocketed, bro. Declan Rice pocketed him. He didn't have a good game, Ash. I'm sorry. That is not on the manager, bro. That is not on the manager today at all.
I think we're scapegoating here, because when you look at it, essentially, we didn't lose the game because we didn't control the game or we weren't offensive. We played a lot of the game in their half. We were the more dominant teams. Trossard was having his way with Matty Cash that game. We lost that game because two players made individual errors at a peak moment, and momentum swung in the game. They had a 12 minutes where they took advantage and they capitalized. And then where we fall short is, you look at our bench, there's nothing to respond to Villa. There's nothing there. You've got Raheem Sterling and a bunch of youngsters.
I think if you look at the game, needed to be wrapped up before half time, because as soon as half time came, like literally, like you said, we have nothing on the bench. And if you look at Villa's bench, they had,
it was wrapped up. We're winning 2-0. It was wrapped up.
Bro. I mean, the idea of you thinking, 3-0 at half time against Aston Villa. Aston Villa are a really good team, by the way. Like, let's just be fair to Aston Villa, they're a very good team. Being 2-0 up on the 60th minute of the game, that's practically wrapped up. What you've got to look at as an Arsenal fans this year is why have you led...
away from home, though, to be honest, Terry.
Okay, that's fair. But Arsenal this season have led 5 times now at half time and drawn the games. 10 points dropped at home from winning positions. That's an issue. That is the difference between being top of the league and second right now. When you consider the season, last season, not once, every game you were leading at halftime at home, you went on to win the football match. So something's changed between this season and last season.
Wait, so how is that not on the manager then? If that has happened 5 times this season, are we saying that's all the players?
Maybe this game is not.
I'm asking you.
Maybe not this game, but generally there is. Guys, we've literally seen this 2 seasons ago. Like when we go through a bad run, we go through a bad run.
Ash.
When we bottled it to Liverpool, it happened against West Ham. It happened against Southampton. I'm not saying this game is purely on Arteta. Of course not.
Yes, okay.
But I'm saying there are certain things sometimes that managers can do when they see things are going bad, like when you're conceding the first goal but
it wasn't going bad. That's what you don't understand. It wasn't going bad.
No, but as soon as you concede that first goal, if you bring in a Jorginho or if you bring in a Zinchenko, put him into that midfield, somebody who can get the ball and pass it into the dangerous spaces, bro.
My man really here explained. I'm sorry, I forgot your name. I'm sorry, I forgot your name. He literally explained. Jorginho was going to be a liability against a very physical Morgan Rogers and Oli Watkins and John Duran, guys. How are you guys?
When he's played with Declan Rice before, he's always played good, bro.
30 minutes left of the game. 30 minutes left of the game. The way we were playing, and we were 2-0 up, 30 minutes left of the game. we shouldn't even have needed a manager there for them 11 players on the pitch to see that game out. They're professional footballers that are competing for leagues the last few seasons. These guys, without a manager, should be able to see out that game. They don't need these substitutions to be like, oh, we need to go more defensive. It weren't like we had all attackers on. We had Bryce and Merino on. We had Partey.
Giuseppe, I get that, but we are not on a 6-7 game winning streak. The players are obviously low on confidence based on what's happening. So you should know as a manager, when you concede and you're 2-1 now winning and the game could be tense, based on the last 4-5 games, you should know your players are not on that high. No. I'm not saying the players are not to blame.
Did you say low on confidence? We just beat Tottenham in the North London derby. They should be on full confidence.
Guys, are you serious? That's our one win in the last 4-5 games.
Forget the confidence thing, bro. We're saying about the manager, but apart from, tell me now, after we conceded the goal, apart from the second goal they scored, tell me what chance they created in the game. So
Giuseppe, they don't need a lot of chances, but that's the point. No. They don't need a lot of. Last season when we lost to them, tell me how many chances they created when they beat us.
I'm not saying that, but changing a player would not have made a lack of concentration just not happen.
But it changes the way the game goes, guys.
I would agree with your point.
He might have come on and we lost the game. You might have brought on Jorginho and then they got another goal and we lost 3-2. How do you know
I'm not saying bring him on and take off a player. Merino wasn't playing well anyways. Merino wasn't playing anyways.
But we don't have. But you're talking as if we've got a wealth of riches on the bench. Had we had a full 11, had we had a full squad, for instance, had there been Partey that could be moved into midfield and there was someone you could bring on a right back, then fair enough. But you're talking about dislodging what is a very thin squad, and you know we already talked about the vulnerabilities that Jorginho would bring. So what is the other option with who's left on the bench and what we have on the starting
guys,
level?
I don't know why we're saying this as if we haven't seen Jorginho play against the physical midfield of Newcastle with Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton and be one of the best players on the pitch. I don't like Jorginho. I don't like Jorginho, but I'm saying in certain games when you're playing, yes, we were playing really well and we should have won that game comfortably. I understand. But given the last 4-5 games when we have bottled certain games and we're clearly suffering with confidence, and Aston Villa just scored, it shouldn't shock people that there's a chance they could come back. And the reason I'm saying bring Jorginho, not because he's good defensively, he sucks defensively. But one thing that he's good at is keeping possession. I even was watching the watch along with Sad, and I even said, even bringing Zinchenko and just controlling the middle might make that kind of change. We've seen that happen before. When you know your players are going through a bad run recently, you have to make some sort of change to not let Aston Villa come back.
Okay, guys, listen, it's a great debate. Viewers, you want to get your views, your opinions on this. We've got a lot of super chats to get to. Before I go to the super chats, Brendan, what did you make of today, my friend? Obviously, a lot of talk here on the players, some looking at the manager. Give me your breakdown of why it went so wrong today for Arsenal.
Well, for the first time in a long time, I actually agree with Mo. I'm looking at individuals today. I'm not necessarily looking at the manager. You could do an overall review on the whole thing, and you could point fingers at the manager. You know, but I don't even want to do that today. You know, too many times people tell me, oh, all you do is come on here and blame the manager, right? So I brought some stats with me today. This isn't necessarily relevant to today, by the way. But the first stat I'm going to give you is, in the last 7 games for Arsenal in all competitions, we've had 116 shots, 33 on target, 10 goals. That tells you everything you need to know about Arsenal needing a striker. 116 shots, only 33 on target, 10 goals. That's ridiculous. Now, the reason why I say that ain't relevant to today is because, funnily enough, we was actually reasonably clinical in front of goal. You know, if you go back and watch the game and look at the stats as well, I think we had 8 shots on goal, 3 on target, and 2 of them were goals. We was 2-0 up. We was comfortable in the game, you know. We suffocated Villa for large parts of that game, you know. But having said that, there were warning signs in the first half. Ollie Watkins did have 1 or 2 half opportunities on the break, you know, that we dealt with okay in the first half. I do think, you know, fingers that are being pointed towards the manager. I mean, it's harsh, but he maybe could have made 1 or 2 adjustments to stop that from happening, right? But again, I think that's very harsh, very, very harsh. Because at the end of the day, Arsenal 2-0 up, they're at home. Just see the game out. You know, how many times have we seen Arsenal this season go 1-0 up and go into a defensive shape, but just see the game
Is
out.
it just
Is
me
it-
or
yeah.
am I?
Yeah, me
Brandon,
too.
your mic's gone a bit crazy,
It's a
bro.
Dalek.
Brandon, your mic, yeah.
It'll come when Brand comes back. We'll get him on. We'll jump to some of these super chats here because a lot of them are really important to look at. And member chats. Jack here. I think this is aimed at me. He says you blame Maresca for a 2-2 draw versus Bournemouth, but not Arteta for 2 up and bottling it. Well, I didn't personally say that he doesn't have any responsibility in this. The difference I would say is Arsenal would have killed to have the quality of players on their bench today that Chelsea had in that match. And I think that Maresca made the substitutions very, very late in that game. Again, ironically, he would have made the subs late today because he didn't concede those goals till later. But yes, I'm not personally saying that Arteta there's nothing to do here with Arteta. They've done this 5 times so far this season, and I think there's something in that. This here says, lads, Arsenal have the same points as this stage last season, scoring more, conceding fewer, losing less, and sitting higher in the table. When are we going to chill?
We need to up our standards.
Listen,
And that's not true, by the way. That's fake. That's BS. That's not true at all.
And even if it was true, we're going now into these next lot of games without Saka. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not. You can't compare that and this, man. Please, bruv.
Yeah, I
also
think, sorry, go on.
I said, and also we got to look at who we're up against and the point differential with Liverpool. That's the most important thing. End of the day, is just because we've got the same points as last season. Last season was a different race, and there was probably a different points gap between us and who was top at the time. So it makes, and they've got a game in hand as well. So yeah,
let me ask him a question. My man, since the super chat, sorry, I forgot your name. I want you to just say one thing. Since you sent the super chat, do you believe Arsenal look exactly the same as last season? And do you believe your team can go on a 15 games run to match the point tally of last season? Just ask yourself that. Tell us. Let us know. Yeah. I'm really intrigued to know your opinion.
And this is the thing about it. Obviously, I get a lot of stick, and I understand it's YouTube, it's pantomime, it's banter about Terry, are Arsenal still scary? If Arsenal were looking like this in that pre-season when I made that video, in terms of the overarching performances, the football, I wouldn't have said they look scary. And I know that it become a little bit tongue-in-cheek, and I say it a few times to wind people up and whatnot. But everybody that understands football knows that there's something slightly missing. When I can't even always put my finger on it. Now, some people say it's the manager because the manager's crap. Yes, but it was the same manager that had you purring. And you've got to remember, there's a lot of Arteta outers who in that first title challenging season got to January and said, I think I'm wrong. I think we're winning the league. So let's not pretend that Arsenal haven't played a superior brand of football, been more clinical, looked more dangerous, more regularly throughout the course of seasons. That's why I think the question marks have to be asked, because for large parts of this season, they haven't been as good as the last 2 years. And the debate is why. So, yeah, look, yes, you might have similar points, but you have to look at performances. The performances are the bedrock. I think Brandon's back with us now. Brandon.
Yeah, sorry. Where did I get to? What did you guys actually hear?
Oh, I heard. No, I can't quite remember what you're saying. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, go on. Pick up where you remember from, mate. Go on.
Well, in isolation, when we say Arsenal need a striker, in isolation today, that weren't necessarily the case. We had 8 shots on target, 8 shots on goal, 4 on target, 2 goals scored. We're 2-0 up. We're cruising. We're suffocating Villa. Yes, there were 1 or 2 warning signs that they could go up the other end in the first half. Maybe the manager could have made an adjustment at half time for that, but I think that's being harsh. I think Mo's right. It comes down to mentality again. I'm watching us concede sloppy goals, and at the end of the day, yeah, it's a makeshift defence. But I'll go back to it again. Matt mentioned it earlier. 7 games in the league Arsenal have played with Thomas Partey at right back. We've won once against Southampton. So it clearly doesn't work, right? I understand the manager's been, kind of forced into playing him at right back today. But, there's something there that don't work. Thomas Partey at right back just doesn't work. It's as simple as that, He goes to sleep for the second goal. The first goal, Mikel Merino, go to sleep as well. But, individuals today, that some of them I feel sorry for, some of them I think deserve criticism. Trossard today, I feel sorry for him because I think, he was really good today. He actually turned up today. Everything that was good about Arsenal was going through him. Martinelli in the first half, I thought he was okay. I don't think he was exceptional, but I think he did okay. Declan Rice in the second half was good. Lewis Skelly again, very good at left back, and Gabriel at centre back. But individuals I want to call out, what is Mikel Merino? What does he actually offer this Arsenal team? Because to me, I don't see anything that he offers us going forward. I know a lot of people are probably going to shout and holler at me now because he nearly scored the goal that was, off of Havertz's arm. If you go and watch that replay back, it's actually going wide.
Do you know what, Brand? I actually thought he played quite well today. I don't
think he was, bro. And this is the thing.
Like,
can I ask you a question, Brand? Let me ask you a question. What doesn't he do? What isn't he doing that you want to see from him specifically?
I don't think it's necessarily him. I think it's him as a player, I don't think he's what we need in that midfield. You look at our midfield anyway, it's very, let's just say, slow, passive, not very quick on the transition. I've said it before that I think, certain elements of it is the manager's instructions. But really and truly, the only one in that midfield who can quicken up the play is Odegaard. Even Rice isn't really, quick on the ball. Yes, he drives forward with it at times, but when it comes to moving the ball on and passing, none of them are really quick at that. Merino's very slow and passive as well, plays it very simple. He doesn't really offer too much in terms of going forward, and I don't think he's that great defensively either, right? But I don't even look solely at him today. Let's have a look at our captain, shall we? Because, again, I'm looking at him again, and I'm saying, you're supposed to be the creative guy in this team. I understand we're 2-0 up already, right? And he's not played a part in the game, but it almost looked like he was missing again today, hiding again today. And I'm just like, please, you're the captain of the football club. You're the creative spark that everybody talks about. Step up, mate. Like Bukayo Saka for Arsenal, for example. He will take the game by the scruff of the neck, and he will go and win the game for Arsenal. I don't ever see Odegaard, or very rarely ever see Odegaard do that for Arsenal.
He's not that guy. Because he's not that guy. He's not that guy.
Which is why I sit here and say, whilst Arsenal need a striker, when you hear the stat that I've just read out about us having 116 shots, we're clearly creating enough. Yeah, we just haven't got the clinical edge in front of goal. But if you're not going to go and get a striker and you're going to stick with this front three that we've currently got, then you need to create more opportunities so that they have more opportunities to finish because they're clearly not clinical enough. So Arsenal need to make a choice. You go out in this window and you go and get a clinical forward. There are options galore. We're 18 days into the window. I don't understand why Arsenal haven't done this already. Or you go and get me another creative player, somebody who's actually creative, somebody who's actually going to put more chances on a plate for these players so they have more opportunities to score. So then it kind of covers up their deficiencies as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I do. I really, really do. We're going to jump into some more of these super chats. I'm going to try and throw them to you as panelists here to answer them sort of one by one. Junior Extreme here. Thank you for the big donation. Says, tired of us playing this horseshoe football, building from the flank, being isolated, then resulting in a hopeful cross to save us. We need attacking help, but I'm sure they'll say we're saving for the right players in the summer. Ash, do you agree with this? Is your sort of attacking play maybe a bit too predictable?
Yeah, I think it's predictable, but it's also, maybe it hasn't been a case in the last couple of games. Definitely against United before the red card. I think it has been a bit slow, a bit conservative. It reminds me of the first half of last season before the Dubai trip when we were playing quite slow and reserved, and we then came back and we upped it up a bit. So I think it does cause a problem. And I said this before, that I think a striker helps us in many departments for sure, as long as we end up playing fast attacking football. But if we bring in a top quality striker and we play this slow and this conservative the way we have done in, maybe not against Spurs or not against a Villa today, but in majority of the games we've played this season, I don't think that there'll be much difference, in my opinion.
I get that. I think a lot of it's to do. I changed my mind in the last couple of games, and football's like this. Sometimes you see things, sometimes you don't. Movement. If you look at your first goal today, the movement and run from Trossard as an example, the movement at the back post by Martinelli, and there was a good run made by, I think it was Kai Havertz in the middle. I think sometimes you guys look a bit static. Cheers, mate. I think sometimes you guys look a little bit static and a little bit robotic because people are being static. So there's not as much movement. And I think a dynamic number 9, making the right runs to the near post, the right runs to the far post, knowing when to drop deep, when to attack. I see it. There's one thing about Rashford in the Man United team we miss, even though he ain't playing well. He loves to run on the shoulder. Having someone that runs on the shoulder, and Gary Neville, he ain't right about everything, but he was saying about Kai Havertz. I want to see him run more on the shoulder of a defender. That ain't his game. But what that does, it pulls teams apart. That creates openings, which means you can try something different. And I think it works on all levels.
Do you know the funniest thing about Havertz, though, Tel? Off the ball, movement is actually one of his best attributes. He just hasn't got that natural number 9's instinct to be in the right places.
Yeah, his movement,
his off-the-ball movement's actually really good.
No, his off-the-ball movement's very good for him as a player. What he doesn't do, he's off the ball. Ian Wright was the best I've ever seen at this. He would just know where to be in the right space at the right time, and the ball would fall to him correctly. It's like sometimes I look at, we've got a striker like it at Man United. It's like, why are you at the far post when you should be at the near post? The movement's good and you create space, but it isn't where the ball's going to be. Byron here says, this playing good and not getting the necessary results nonsense needs to stop. You are only good if you get the job done. Context is making the game soft. I think you need context at times, but I also agree with you on games like today in title races, when Liverpool did what they did, you have to get it done by hook or by crook. Kivior is not good enough. That's why Arteta played Partey at right back, is what Lays says. Red Indian.
I agree with the first part. He is not good enough.
Red Indian.
But wasn't it Arteta who signed him a couple? I don't understand. Like, if you don't think he's good enough, which I agree, he isn't good enough, just get rid of him. You signed him 2 seasons ago, and you didn't play him when we were playing Rob Holding, and we were all crying, why didn't you just start Kivior? Okay, now that you thought he's not good enough, I'd rather play a midfielder. Or just get rid of him in the summer. Why did we keep him? He was linked with AC Milan.
Dinia, man of the match. What a ball for the first goal. Locked up that side, coming on as a snug changing the game. I will say about the cross as well. He was crossing from a position where typically you're quite comfortable letting someone cross from. So there is an element of that cross. I mean, the mark is bad for Merino, but the cross was absolutely ridiculous. It was so good, to be fair. Connor here. I want to throw this one to Nathan. Says, I think Mikel Arteta just isn't a winner and gets nervous in the key moments, which then steeps into the squad. I love Mikel Arteta, but wish Ancelotti is free in the summer.
I mean, respectfully, I disagree. I don't think I think the squad in general, objectively, from the start of the season, wasn't good enough to win the league. And when you look at it, that is, a lot of people, if you think the manager is subpar and the squad is and the squad is not good enough, then you're asking a not good enough manager to win a league with a subpar squad, which logically makes no sense to me. So for me, the biggest issue.
To be fair to him, though, Nathan, he never mentioned the squad is subpar. To be fair,
but the manager's never going to come out and say my squad is subpar. He's never going to go and do that. Have you ever? When have you ever?
Again, I don't get that logic when he signed 90% of the players that are here. Literally 90% of the players are either.
Hold on, but then look, we say this right, but then the keeper Neto that signed, has Arteta used him yet? Raheem Sterling, how has he been used? Do you think Arteta is really calling for Raheem Sterling? A week before, he came out in a press conference and said he's not interested in Raheem Sterling. So I think as fans, we need to use logic to deduce what's what.
Nathan, respectfully.
Yeah, but what about the other players you're refusing to name, like Kivior, like Merino, like Havertz, like Jesus, that he kept faith in?
Listen,
and I think Arteta is a good manager. I don't think he's a bad manager.
Listen,
Nathan,
but there's a difference between. But there's a difference. Hold on. There's a difference between me saying he hasn't made any mistakes and every of his signings has been successful, and me saying there are players within that squad that are clearly players that he doesn't want, and we can see them by his utilization of them. I believe Havertz from the get-go was a bust, right? I've already said it. We shouldn't have signed him. Jesus, since the knee injury, has not been good. I'm not absolving Arteta of any blame. I'm just saying there are clear players in that squad, and we've seen it even through our recruitment or the players that we are linked to, the likes of Rafinha, Kudus, etc. For years, we've been looking at backups for Saka, and we're still in 2025 without a real adequate backup for Saka. Are you telling me that the managers never wanted that? Because if no manager is going to actively say, I want less quality in a team. He wants
I think as much as we look at the
And
manager,
news
we've got
for
to
you
look at
guys,
we've got to look at the
Saliba's
board.
out for long, by the way.
Yeah, but
Sorry.
hang on, guys.
What's he said about Saliba?
He's out
said
for
he's
a
very
long
worried.
extended period. Arteta said we're very, very worried.
Oh,
Can I also just say as well, right?
Listen,
Last
guys,
season, we was the
whilst-
best.
hang on,
defensive team.
Matt. Brandon started talking. Sorry, we'll come to you after Matt. Sorry, go on, Brandon.
Whilst we could sit here and say, look, there's players that are not being utilised in the squad. Clearly, the manager didn't want him, right? No manager in world football gets every single player that they want. It doesn't work like that, right? No matter there are times where the manager doesn't get their first choice. You know, maybe they'll get their third or fourth or fifth choice. The job of the manager is to get the best out of the players that he has at his disposal, right? And there are players in this squad that the manager isn't getting the best out of. Let's just be real about it, right? And when you look at the time that he's had here, yeah, and the fact that 94%, or in fact 100% of this squad has been signed or given a new contract by him, you would expect that the manager would know these players well enough now to be able to get the best out of them. And I just, like me personally, I don't feel like he's getting the best out of certain individuals in this team, right? And that's the thing that I have with the manager. Do Arsenal need to go out and spend more money? Hell yes.
Yeah,
It's clear
Brand,
to see we still
I
need
agree with
another
you, Brand.
striker.
And do you know how you know you're right? Because if you look at the last nearly 3 years, because the back end of the season where you just missed out on the top four, you started really clicking. For the best part of 3 years, you've played much better football than you've seen in the last few months, which means Arteta has got better out of them. One of the questions I would ask is, now that the expectation is, now you've got a challenge every year now, you've got to get over the line and win. Does that change how you feel? Does it change how you approach things? There's always when you beginner's luck. I'm not saying he was lucky, but sometimes you can be a bit lucky at the start of something, and then the pressure and the more understanding you get, the expectations are higher, and maybe you can't handle it. My only caveat would be is this to Arsenal fans: I know Ancelotti's amazing and he's won everything, right? But if you're expecting like beautiful, well-organized football, which I know a lot of Arsenal fans want, that's the one thing that Madrid fans are screaming about they don't have at the moment. So be very careful who you ask for, because you might not get that kind of football, and you don't have Vinicius Junior or Mbappe. So just be.
And he doesn't have a good. He doesn't have a good track record taking on a club where he has to spend money and invest. Like we've seen when he took over Napoli, what happened.
By the way, I think a big thing is the squad. Because the last 2 seasons and a bit that we've been performing well, one thing didn't happen. We didn't get key injuries. But last 2 seasons, everyone used to look at Arsenal and say, Arsenal lucky, they're not getting no key injuries. The second we've had a season where we started getting key injuries, it started showing how poor that squad.
And with Saliba as well. Saliba's out for as long as this
that's
suggests.
done. The season is done.
Yeah. And just touch on the whole Ancelotti on the whole Ancelotti thing, right?
The whole mentality thing, yeah. Well, the players' mentality, a lot of the time, it comes from the manager, right? The manager instills it. So, for example, Fergie was a long reigning manager at Manchester United. You know, won a lot with Manchester United, overturned and changed his team a lot. You know, in terms of individuals coming in and out, and you know, the mentality remained the same for a long period of time, right? So, when you look at mentality and it's stemming from the manager, Arsenal's first season of challenging for the league title, we were obviously 8 points clear with 8 games to go, and we bottled it, right? Or Saliba's injury affected us to a point where we didn't go and win the league. So really and truly, Arteta didn't need to change our way of playing. He just needed to add better quality individuals into that team in order for us to go and win the league the next season. But the reason why I question the manager's mentality and whether he's able to get us over the line is because he's changed the way that we play for the last 2 seasons in a row.
So you want us to stay the same, like Ange Postecoglou has basically done and is in a relegation?
No, it's a combination of the two things. You're right to make changes because Sir Alex Ferguson did. Pep does. Pep doesn't play the same today as he did the day he arrived in the Premier League. There are subtle differences, but it's about getting it right. And what I would say, and this is in defense slightly of Arteta, he's been at the club, 5.5 years now?
Yeah.
You're getting towards, if you just look in the last 30 years of Premier League managers, he's getting close to being in one of the longest serving managers in the last 20 or 30 years. Most don't last this long. There's a reason for that. And there also comes a point where you might just need to try So, and it might not be now, but at some point, if you actually look, how many Premier League managers have lasted more than 5 years at a club in Premier League history? If you were to tell me there was more than 15 that have lasted that long, I'd say I would say no. I'd say no more than 15 have lasted over 5 years at one and stayed in the Premier League. So this is why people look. This is not about Arteta in, Arteta out. This isn't about I like him, I don't like him. You have to sometimes look at football in its entirety. If only 10 managers in Premier League history have managed one club as long as Arteta has, there's a reason for that. And it isn't always, and not everyone who's been sacked has been a bad manager. Sometimes something just, the course runs as an example. And I sometimes think there's an element of all of this here rather than it just being one thing. Can we just jump? Can I just jump? Yeah, go on, make your point. I want to jump some more of these super chats. There's quite a few of them.
Just on what you're saying, the thing is, it's because we haven't won anything. Because a lot of managers, Klopp, Sir Alex Ferguson, Wenger, they all have that year where they're not quite up to the scratch of the previous couple of years, and you're like, "What's going on? This is the same team. Why are we dropping off? Why are we?" But because they've got winning stuff in the bank, you kind of let that slide. If we'd won one of them 2 Premier Leagues, no one would probably be worried.
Yeah, yes, very, very true. And even like today's result, if you had beaten Newcastle and you were practically in the final, a different feeling. And that's, listen, I understand that completely. This here says Merino has a good game today. These guys just need a scapegoat. Partey and Timber was not disciplined today, is what Enigma says. This here from Gaza says, what are the odds this draw lights a fire under the boys and we go on a winning streak? Only say that because I'm seeing a lot more confident Liverpool fans on the timeline.
They have the right to be confident. They have the best team in the league this season.
Is he on about a win streak for Arsenal or for Liverpool?
Arsenal.
Oh, okay. I'd probably agree with him if we had Saka. We don't have Saka. I'm not confident.
Sleeper.
Well, you'll probably find
it is, right. We've had 6 opportunities this season to capitalise on Liverpool dropping points. Right, I know they didn't drop points today, but we've only done it once. That's another mental block from this team, really, isn't it? Because we've had 6 opportunities to capitalise. And we've only managed to actually do it once.
The one we've done it, we went and lost the advantage the next week, this week.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I hate when fans say the same points as last season. Should and must improve every season. I think that's a fair point. Again, I don't necessarily use points as the ultimate barometer. I don't necessarily think a team that wins the league with 100 points is better than a team 10 years earlier or 50 years earlier that won it with 90 points or 85. That's where context is important. Who are your competitors? Who are you up against?
Because it defeats your argument of United versus City. That's why you don't like it.
But partly, but it's also about protecting the legacy. Because I'll give you an example. If there's 4 or 5 teams that are really good, like forget Man United's legacy, when Liverpool, Chelsea, United and Arsenal were in that run of all of us got the Champions League finals, all of us in title races from sort of 2004, Invincibles included, right through to about 2012. Look how good all 4 of those teams were pretty much every single season. But because all 4 were that good, there's an argument to say you were going to get slightly less points. Imagine Arsenal were as good as they were Invincible year for that whole period, for 8 years. But there was almost nobody else near their level in that time. You'd have probably got 95 plus points in a lot of them seasons.
Yeah, but Chelsea still did 95 points against the Invincible team and against United.
I understand that, and they were brilliant, but they were up against really good teams. So that's a case in point. I actually think that Chelsea team was a better team than the Centurions, even though there was 5 points less. I'm saying that I don't look at points totals as the ultimate barometer. So yes, you might be on the same points this year as last year, but you've had opportunities this season to maybe be ahead of that points total and top of the league. You can't ignore that just because the points total is the same. And I think points totals are a good barometer, but I don't think they should be the be all and end all of any league position discussion, really. Man United have come second before, but been 25 points off the top of the league. So I look at that and go, well, second in the league, but we still had a low amount of points. Do you know what I'm saying?
Even as Arsenal fans, I think even if I'm not mistaken, when we went Invincible, we'd won the league with a few games to spare, and we just started drawing games until the end of the season, right? So, context always has to be kind of taken into the equation, because once you've won the league, there is going to
No
be
one-
a motivation to. No one's going to want to really go out and give it their
agree.
all.
No, I agree. I think there was an element. Again, I'm taking nothing away from the Centurions. I think they're a fantastic team, and they're part of one of the greatest English sides of all time. I feel like there was no one when I was growing up cared about points totals. When you won the league, nobody went, but you only got 75. Oh, last year though, yes, you won the league, but we got 8 more points than you last year. No one said anything. I think it's become something to chase. So yeah, there's part of that. There was a time where I swore the ref was playing for Arsenal. He was giving them every decision in favour. Not Arteta, nor the players or fans to be blamed here.
We're just good at drawing fouls, I think.
The referee.
We've got players that are just really good at drawing fouls. Ian Skelly. He's one of the best players that can draw fouls I've seen recently.
I get that. I've got a few more super chats here, and I'm going to go to you, Gal. Sorry, mate. Real question. Is that Odegaard actually good? He's the captain, and he's still yet to put on a captain's performance. Never changes the game, and he only delivers when it's good. It's time to move on from him, is what Danny Hark has got to say here. Time to move on.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, that's just reactionary hell, bro. Come on. He's going through a bad run, but let's not do this BS, bro.
He's had a really awesome
season. And I think the biggest thing is we put him
versus Tottenham. He might just might be exhausted. We need to get him covered, as Brendan would always say.
He had 2 months off.
So let's not always talk about this guy's bad, this guy's this. We see his great performance midweek, and then we see this performance, and we say, oh, he's the problem. No, the defense was the goddamn issue. It wasn't him alone. But hey, it's not my.
To be fair,
I think we put him on a pedestal, right?
Really,
I think we put him on a pedestal in terms of. We've made him out to be this real creative hub for Arsenal, and he's not that type of player. He's a metronome, he's a controller, but he's not. He shouldn't be a player where, and I've said this many times before, like a KDB, like a Bruno Fernandes, where you give it to them, give him the ball in certain areas, and you expect him to create, and score.
He would be considered the same level. One second. He would have the same level of output if our players could finish their goddamn dinner. Today, luckily, our attack did their job. We scored 2 goals, and these guys all contributed, the front 3. But how many times have we seen Odegaard put it on the plate for players week in, week out, where they mess it up? Let's not do this, bro.
But that's not the argument I'm making, Odegaard. The point I'm making clearly is that when you look at Odegaard's play, how many times have we been running in transition and he'll turn around? Because that's not in his game. He's not direct. He's somebody who's safety first all the time. He can create. You're going on as if I've made the argument to say that he's got zero creativity in his game. I'm just saying to you, creativity is not the sole focus of his game. He's not somebody that will churn out 5-6 big chances or he's not risk. He's very risk averse.
He churns out 10 chances versus a team, and we still don't do shit.
He links the whole team together. That's what I would say.
He is one of the main driving forces. He's one of the main driving forces. He's one of the main tempo setters. He's one of the main guys who does everything. And people who say tempo set. Main person. But 1 second. There's different ways of attacking. You don't always have to be gung ho. Sometimes it's like, give me the ball, let's go. Give me the ball, let's keep it moving. Because
that's why I said he's a metronome. That's exactly what I've just said. I said he's a metronome, but he's not a final third risk-taking player.
Bro, he literally scored double-digit goals in the Premier League. If I'm not mistaken, he scored more goals.
We had so much space in front of us.
Let's not do this. It's not about Odegaard.
He can't be put. Listen, as Nathan rightly pointed out, he's a controller. He's not this creative player that everybody seems to think he is, right? Because creative players don't just lay on assists; they score goals consistently as well.
He scored goals. He got double digits 2 years ago.
He's had 2 assists this season and 2 goals.
He's also been injured for like 2 months.
You're talking about 2 seasons ago when he put up 15 goals. That's all well and good, but you got to do that consistently.
He does.
Kevin De Bruyne for Man City did that consistently, my friend.
Because he has better finishers around him.
Kevin De Bruyne would take games by the scruff of his neck and win them for Man City.
And Odegaard does that too.
Don't do that.
Odegaard, what was that about? Gal, let me give you a stat here, though. Would you agree that Odegaard has played in the last 2 seasons in a significantly better team than Manchester United?
Yes.
Yeah.
In that same time period, Bruno Fernandes, not assists because of goal scorers, but chances created. Bruno Fernandes has created nearly 40 more chances in a completely inferior team. So to your point, imagine Bruno in your creative wise in a superior team. I agree with you on the assist element. It's about people putting the balls in the back of the net. Odegaard can create, okay, no doubt. But this is not about Odegaard either. It's about competition. You look at KDB that you'd put at the top of that pile with his pomp. Look who he had around him. He's got Fodens. He's got Bernardo Silvas. The pressure and the problem with your team is a lot of the time, if Odegaard doesn't create, who else steps up? So I wouldn't even solely blame him. And this is what happens sometimes when you don't have enough players like him. Who can you bring on from the bench who's like him? Who can play alongside him, who's also creative and can take that burden away from him? That is what I would look at more if I was an Arsenal fan than Odegaard individually, because most of the top teams have more than one player who can open up another team and break the lines. Let's do this.
Terry, that stat you read. Who's second in that? One second, Igal, 1 sec. That stat you read. Who's second in that list after Bruno?
I don't know.
I think it is Odegaard. I think Bruno is high ahead of everyone else.
Terry, I'm gonna have to bounce, but can I just say this quickly?
Yeah, go on again.
I got a couple of talking points. First things first, Thomas Partey is not getting a new contract. Today's game confirms it for me. The way Mikel Arteta looked after that game, how frustrated he was, the fact that this guy can't even do little things defensively. Forget about the fact that he's playing right back. It was a set piece, and the man didn't even know where he was looking. He looked like a deer in headlights. I think he's finished, and he's not. And after this season, we're looking past him. We're looking for better. Next, when it comes to Mazu Skelly, once again, one of the best players on the pitch. Shout out to the 18-year-old. Gabriel Magalhaes and Timber, they did well first half. Second half, honestly, they were trying to hold it together. The rest of the team needs to help out defensively also. This was one game where we should have maybe gone more defensive once we got 2-0 up. But Aston Villa getting in through two crosses, we need to do better in the wide channels defending those crosses. When we don't have William Saliba there, that we're susceptible to the aerial duels. Also, the final thing that I'm going to say is people talking about the title race. The title race is only dependent on Liverpool. It's not dependent on us. We can only win our games or draw or get as many points as we can. Liverpool have to drop points, and we've always known this. So for now, advantage Liverpool. But hey, next thing you know, they could drop points next week. We win versus Wolves, and we're back in the same situation as we were this week.
Hey, Gal, have you seen that Arteta's come out in his press conference and said that William Saliba's out for a while?
He never said that. He said we're going to assess it. I don't know where you read that, Brandon, but you pick and choose arguments based on what you think.
I pick and choose anything.
Hey, Gal, can I ask you a question? He said they're really worried about him. They said they're really worried. Would you say your manager saying they're really worried about him? That does suggest it could be quite lengthy, doesn't it?
He also said we will have another test tomorrow. And it'll be more clear about it. So I don't think
I understand that point, but him saying he's really worried about him, is that not a concern to you?
I think they need to be precautionary because we had a situation where he was out for a second half of the season at once, and we don't want to lose him. He's such a key player to us, and also the way we treat him could determine if he wants to leave or not. So we don't want to.
And to be fair to Igal, because I also said in the beginning, it must be a long time, but I just read the quote. People are taking it out of context. He said, tomorrow we'll have more information. With the numbers and looking at our bench, we are very worried. So it could just be the fact that I don't want to miss him for the next 2-3 games.
Right. Okay. That makes more. Listen to. Okay, that makes sense. Cheers, Igal. I know you got to shoot, mate. I want to go through these last few super chats here. Cheers, bro.
I'll be on the top 6 if you need me.
Yes, message KJ. KJ that deals with all that. But yeah, mate, 100%. Cheers, brother. Imagine being 2-2 and then subbing on Sterling to change the game. Ha ha ha. Don't worry. Kai Havertz is the best defensive striker in the league. I thought Kai Havertz was quite good today, to be fair. If this was not a sign for them to buy a striker right now, I don't know what is. Fair point. Ash, how is winning 21 from 25 going?
Again, you need to probably clean your brains out. That's not what I said. We were speaking at Most Channel, and last season I said we did 19 wins out of 25 games in our last 25 games. I said at that time, I don't think we'll do it, but it's not crazy to say we can do 2 more wins. This was before Saka's injury. This was before the bad runs and all that stuff. So it wasn't a mental take. I still stick by what I said. I even said in that same video, I don't think we'll do it though. So I don't know what the guy is
I
trying
get
to
that.
do.
I hear that. You guys are trolling about Odegaard. I'm a rival, but even I know if you had a scorer, left winger, and a real 9, Odegaard. But this is the point, though. I think what you're saying, Decay, matches what I know I said, and the people that were talking about Odegaard agreed with. If you had a left winger, that's someone who's probably going to be creative and score some more goals. A proper 9 might be creative, but helps you to create. Therefore, the burden is taken away from Odegaard. And I think that's the problem. I think Odegaard does a very good job for Arsenal, but he can't be almost 80% sole reliance on creativity for their team. Like Trossard today is an example. If Trossard, I mean, I thought it was really good. Trossard needs to do that. Not every game, because no one's expected to create two assists every game. But you need that week in, week out, those level of performances, that level of consistency, where he's picking up assists regularly, creating those big chances. If he was doing that, and Saka's fit, and Odegaard's doing it, the situation would look completely different for Arsenal. So I think it's a combination of those things.
As well, Terry, as well. Just to touch on that, it's like sometimes I feel like people want to have conversation, like can't have like broad conversations, because what we're saying is not replace Odegaard, is bring in another midfielder that is a different profile to Odegaard, who's more creative in the final third, and that's more of his focus.
Well, one thing you guys wanted to see. No, I agree. One of the things you guys were saying for a while is that you wanted to see when Saka was fit, Saka on the right, but maybe when Waneri and Odegaard in the team together, both in a kind of attacking midfield roles. And I think the fact that you didn't get a chance to see that is crazy.
Can I just quickly say as well? I think Odegaard, without Saka,
if we look at the City teams that won the league in them 4 years, right? They had one defensive midfielder, or defensive midfielder that could go forward as well, which was Rodri, right? And then they had 2 attack-minded midfielders in front. Bernardo Silva isn't like the most creative midfielder in the world, but he's similar in the style to what Odegaard plays in the way that he'll keep the ball ticking, he'll keep the ball moving forward. It's De Bruyne who comes up with the goals and the assists. Arsenal need that De Bruyne, to play next to Odegaard. We need that extra player.
But again, you say that, Brandon, but Odegaard has shown he can score goals, though. I mean, last season he had 8 and 8. The season before that, 15 and 6. So I don't think it's a situation of he cannot score goals. I think he can score goals, but he's just going through a bad run right now. Unfortunately, he's been too reliant on that Saka combination to get into dangerous positions.
It's a lot more simple because I don't think
helps because teams know, right? Teams must know this. Because I know this as a fan, right? But teams must know this. Teams must set up and go, look, if we can stop Odegaard, then we can stop Arsenal from creating. If we can stop Saka and Odegaard combination, we pretty much stop Arsenal. So by adding an extra creative player to go next to Odegaard, all of a sudden they've got more than one player to worry about other than Odegaard.
This gives you an example, though. So this is on average. I've been looking at this while you guys were talking. Bruno Fernandes in KDB average between 2.7 and 2.9 key passes per game. Bernardo Silva and Odegaard in the Premier League in that same time period average between 1.8 and 1.9. So there is good level creativity, but those guys are a level above. But the point is that like Bernardo Silva has got KDB, so together they've got it. What Arsenal don't have is that other figure. You have 2 of those guys together. And this is what people don't realize. When Bruno came to Man United, there was but he's just getting the assists that other people got. He's just scoring the goals that other people would get. That was wrong. We had something like a 60% increase in chances being created, in goals being scored in the beginning until we messed it up by bringing in the wrong personnel. And that's what you guys need to do. Mark here says, if you have spent 700 million and got no creative backup, that's on the manager. When does the pressure mount on Arteta? No, listen, I think the pressure is there. To answer this very quickly, the pressure is there. There are some gooners that have been calling him out for years. Loads have been saying it. It was booing at the stadium again today. And his signings have been criticised. There's no doubt about that. I'll be honest with you, that happens on these shows on a regular basis. Even people like Igal, that are the biggest diehard Arteta inners, have criticised the lack of depth in that squad, Mark. So the pressure is certainly there, my friend, on the terrace anyway.
Mark, is that there also becomes a point as well, because everybody here knows that I'm Arteta out, but there also becomes a point where it gets to the point where you kind of just get bored of regurgitating what you're saying. Do you know what I mean? The manager's not going anywhere, whether I like it or whether anybody else likes it or not. It almost becomes a club problem. It's almost like now
the debate's irrelevant.
I have to swing my focus now to the owners, because if he goes again this season without winning anything, and he remains as the manager at the football club, it's not an Arteta problem, really. You know, he's only doing what the owners have been asking him to do, and if the owners are still keeping him in charge, then they're the problem. Do you see what I mean?
No, I think
I agree with that. I agree with that, Brandon. That yes, if they don't sack him, if assuming the season goes bad as we expect it to, if they don't sack him, that's an issue. But unfortunately, that's the one thing you can do nothing about, because they own the club. Like, if people are sitting there thinking, I know you didn't say that, so I'm not saying you did, but a lot of people are like, oh, Kroenke out. Which for me is just ridiculous, because I think they've backed him enough and they've spent money. And that's the one thing that there's no point of talking about, because you're never going to be able to change that. They're not going to leave the club. Also, no, you cannot. No, you cannot.
No, we can't get rid of them. But what we can do is put pressure, because I know I'm not Arteta out, and I know Brandon is. But the reality is that we both have the same perspective of, we came into a summer window where we haven't done enough, and that falls on the owners. Whether you think the manager is good enough or not, the owners haven't given the manager enough resources to go out and do something, to go out and do the job.
How do we know that, though? How do we know the manager didn't ask for certain players? The manager didn't push for
because his first choice was Jolo Hato, and he got Calafiori.
Somebody has to be held accountable. You know, so if the owners are not going to hold accountability for that, then unfortunately it becomes
I will say, guys, just into the time, that's like the whole new debate for another day. I want to just do these last few super chats here. Boomer Maguna says the other guy is Bukayo Saka. Terry, he's out. I understand that Saka's got a good level of creativity. I'm talking about someone that's more central, if I'm being honest. I'm talking about someone that, if you get a striker and a winger that create and score more, absolutely. I think you need more in those central areas as part of your midfield. If I'm going to be really specific, Boom Maguna, I think you need that. And that isn't always the start. I mean, you tried doing it, and it was meant to be Fabio Vieira, and he just didn't deliver. You need that. Maybe it's going to be Waneri as an example, but then you do need cover for Bukayo Saka as well. So it still needs bolstering in your team, I think, my man. Saka, 2022-23 type player with Odegaard, Rice. I mean, I get why you guys would want that. Are we signing anyone in January, or are we cooked? I don't know. There's links, but we don't ever know, do we?
I've already said Rashford. Rashford's coming, bro. I'm telling you. I
hear you. I house on it. He's going to Italy, apparently.
Yeah,
I put my house on it. Deadline day.
Just don't trust whatever Matt says. Matt's sources have got everything wrong in the last 12 months. Everything.
I do think he'll leave the country.
How about Arteta's mentality, guys? I think we've touched on this a lot already, and I think there's certainly been moments, and it's weird though. Like, when a manager is winning and he's a great winner and he gets angry on the sidelines, it's seen as passion and him trying to influence the refs and do things. When a manager isn't winning trophies and they do it, it's seen as, oh, maybe, you know, it will set a bad precedent for the players. If Kiwior can't get in the team
thing as well, Tel. I know you want to read these out, so I'm going to make this real quick. The funniest thing about today's game was it reached 90 minutes, or 92 or 93 minutes or something. 97 minutes added on in total, and it panned over to Arteta, and he's talking to the fourth official about Aston Villa time wasting, like Arsenal haven't been doing that all season.
I know. If Kiwior can't get in the team for a midfielder, why is he at the club? I think that's been addressed by the panel tonight. Absolutely. Sell him, move him on. This here says, if this is the Arteta and owners out week, next week it is the we'll catch them and win it week. It repeats. Listen, let's be fair. The people that are asking for Arteta to go and blaming are not the people that said we're going to hunt down Liverpool and catch them and beat them. It's different Arsenal fans. They're not a monolith. They're not all the same. They have different views, and opinions. Look, I want to thank everyone who's tuned in to the Full Fan Highlight Show tonight. Please hit the like button before you leave. And this is going to redirect you to Mo and Hussam's channel, so go and support them over there. We're back tomorrow with Fan Channel Reaction Show, plus match reactions to Manchester United's game. And I don't know, and Spurs must be playing tomorrow as well. I don't actually know who the other game is tomorrow. I know Man United play at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. What's the other game?
Who have United got?
We're at home to Brighton. And then it's Ipswich, and then it's and then Everton Tottenham at the same time, and then it's Ipswich City at 4:30. So we're live tomorrow. Until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.